Hey everybody, if you've watched our other videos, you know we're big fans of Roth IRAs. They are an exceptionally useful tool for tax strategy and optimization in retirement. Now ultimately, whether or not you should use a Roth IRA depends heavily upon your tax situation when you make a contribution. But generally speaking, we think everybody should have at least some of their retirement savings in a Roth or after-tax type account. In this video, we'll give you 7 reasons why it's a good idea to have a Roth IRA. Reason number 1, investment options. The first key advantage of Roth IRAs is you have access to nearly any kind of investment you want. In a 401k plan, you're kind of limited to whatever your employer happens to offer inside the plan. By using a Roth IRA, you get to choose what custodian you use to open the account with, meaning you'll get to choose what assets you have access to from within the Roth account. And this also gives you the flexibility and control to choose investments that have low expense ratios, which could significantly impact the value of your portfolio over time. Finally, a broader selection of investment options will make rebalancing your portfolio a lot easier down the road. So if you need to change your risk profile, or if you get a little heavy in one asset class over another, having a lot of options makes it easier to get your portfolio back into the asset allocation that you desire. The second reason it's good to have a Roth IRA is because of the tax arbitrage opportunities it provides. If you're familiar with Roth IRAs and traditional IRAs, you know that one or the other may be more or less advantageous based on your income tax situation at the time you make a contribution. So for example, if your income taxes are low at the time you make a contribution, but you think they'll be higher when you make a withdrawal, you probably want to use a Roth account, because in that way you pay tax on the front end, but then your withdrawals are made tax-free. The opposite's true if you're in a high income tax bracket now, but think you'll be in a lower income tax bracket when you make withdrawals. That gives you the opportunity to take a tax deduction when you make the contribution, and when you make the withdrawal in retirement, you can pull it out and pay income tax at that time when you're in a lower bracket. That's the arbitrage opportunity. Basically, you exchange the higher tax bracket either now or in the future for the lower one either now or in the future. So just a really basic example. Let's say you're in the 12% tax bracket now. You put $1,000 into a Roth IRA. You're going to pay $120 in tax to get that $1,000 in there because your tax rate is 12%. But if you're in the 22% tax bracket, when you retire, if you were in a traditional account, you'd pay a 22% income tax on any withdrawal you make. So by paying tax on the front end and using a Roth when you're in the 12% tax bracket, you save 10% in taxes, or $100 in this case, on a $1,000 contribution, because you use tax arbitrage to pay lower taxes. Reason number 3, task risk limitation. All right, no one knows for sure what the future holds in terms of tax rates, but a Roth IRA effectively allows you to take that risk completely off the table when you make a contribution. This is especially relevant now considering that in 2026, tax rates are slated to go back up. So going back to our example earlier of the person who's in the 12% tax bracket, starting in 2026, they'll be in the 15% tax bracket, which is a 3% increase. Now 3% may not seem like a big number, but considering the length of time that you generally want to leave money in a Roth IRA account, it could make a big difference. So current tax brackets are 10, 12, 22, 24, 32, 35, and 37%. Beginning in 2026, they'll go up to 10, 15, 25, 28, 33, 35, and 39.6. Now to add to that, income taxes are about as low now as they've been in a very long time. And on the flip side, our national debt continues to soar. No one really knows what will happen, but it seems more likely that taxes will go up rather than go down. Reason number 4, tax diversification. When you begin making withdrawals from your retirement accounts, a Roth IRA gives you a place to pull money from that isn't taxed at all. This means you can stop making withdrawals from tax-deferred accounts, which are taxed as regular income when you make withdrawals, and start pulling income from Roth IRAs instead, from which you'll pay no tax. This basically gives you a couple of levers you can pull, a lot of control over what you'll actually pay in taxes in retirement. It's just another handy way to control your tax liability that you wouldn't have if you didn't have a Roth account. Hey, I hope you're enjoying our video. If so, if I could get you to click the like and subscribe buttons below, is a really, really big help to our channel. We'd really appreciate it. It helps our channel to grow so we can teach other people about personal finance. Reason number 5, no required minimum distributions. Required minimum distributions, or RMDs, are basically a requirement the IRS has in place to ensure that tax-deferred accounts are taxed at some point. Because you take a tax deduction when you make a contribution to a traditional IRA or traditional 401k, no tax is paid until you make a withdrawal. Well, say you reach retirement and you don't really need that money. The best thing to do would probably be just to leave it there. Well, the IRS is going to make sure that at some point you pay tax on that. So beginning at age 75, for most people, you'll have to begin making withdrawals from that account. Generally, the first year RMD is around 4% of the total account balance. If you don't actually need that income, this creates a tax obligation that you don't really want or need to pay. Well, you don't have to worry about that scenario from a Roth IRA because there are no RMDs. There's no requirement that you pull the money out. And even if you did, you wouldn't be taxed on it. All right, reason number 6, backup emergency fund. Another nice feature of Roth IRAs is contributions are always able to be withdrawn without penalty and without tax. So let's say you contribute $5,000 to a Roth IRA 10 years in a row. You've put $50,000 in the account. You're allowed to withdraw all those contributions without any taxes or penalties. Since these contributions are always able to be withdrawn tax and penalty free, it can kind of serve as sort of a backup emergency fund. Now keep in mind, this is for contributions only. Any earnings on the account would be subject to early withdrawal penalties. But that said, we almost left number 6 out because we would never recommend that you remove your contributions from a Roth IRA account. And the reason is you can never put them back. Let's say you pulled $50,000 from that account. That's $50,000 that can no longer earn tax-free interest. And you can't go back and replace it later. It's gone for good. Instead, we recommend that you build up an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses so you can weather a downturn instead of having to raid your Roth IRA account. Reason number 7, your heirs will thank you. There is no better inheritance than a Roth account. First off, a traditional IRA or 401k is subject to income tax by the person who inherits it. You also have to continue RMDs that the deceased had already started or completely liquidate the balance of the account within 10 years. And you may say, well, what about a house or just stocks in a regular brokerage account? They get a free step up in basis, right? Well, you're right. So let's say you have $1 million house or $1 million in stocks and you leave that to an heir. When they receive it, they get a free step up in basis, meaning no matter what you paid for that, no matter how many capital gains are built into the value of that asset, they don't have to pay any tax on that. The thing is, their basis begins the day they receive the inheritance. So if the value of the asset continues to grow after they take ownership of it, they'll owe capital gains tax on that amount. The difference with a Roth IRA is there's no tax when they receive it, and there's no new basis. So in other words, they receive the Roth IRA balance, let's say it's $1 million in this case, they can leave it in the Roth IRA for up to 10 years without removing it. And any earnings that it gains in that period of time are also completely tax-free. So while you receive a free step-up in basis on any assets you receive from an inheritance, any appreciation in the value of those assets is subject to tax. A Roth, on the other hand, would never be. So in 10 years' time, potentially, if you got $1 million Roth IRA, say you just had a really generous, rich uncle, in 10 years, it could potentially double, and none of it would be subject to tax. Now, after 10 years, you do have to completely liquidate the account. You have to pull it out of the inherited Roth account. But hey, 10 years is a lot of time for that to grow. All right, a few things to keep in mind. While we admittedly love Roth IRAs, it doesn't mean they're always the best choice for saving for retirement. If you have a high income, odds are a traditional IRA is going to be a better route to take. Also, if you have a high income, you may not even be eligible to contribute to a Roth IRA. You should also prioritize any employer matching contributions you can get through a retirement plan at work before you go after a Roth IRA account. Finally, balancing the Roth versus traditional decision can be very difficult to navigate. Make sure you think through this clearly before you decide that a Roth is right for you. We've done a lot of content on Roth and traditional IRAs and 401ks. There's some links to some of the content in the description below. Feel free to check that out at the end of our video. We also have tons of other personal finance information on our website, martinmoney.com. You can also check us out on the social media channels which are on your screen. As always, we're so grateful for your interest in our videos. Thank you for watching. God bless and take care.